everybody, it's time to talk about Return of the Living Dead 3, directed by Brian Yuzna, written by John Penney, and this tells the story about a woman getting killed in an accident and the boyfriend reviving her with the trioxin at this army base that his dad works at, and once he revives his girlfriend, she starts spreading the infection and hell breaks loose in this city. Just so you know, I've already reviewed parts 1 and 2, so check out those reviews, and this is going to be the last positive review, most likely, because 4 and 5 look dreadful, and they have bad ratings, and I heard that they were filmed back to back, and they're like sci-fi movies. They look like they're going to be terrible, so this is probably going to be the last time that I'm going to have a smile on my face while reviewing this series. This is the last good Return of the Living Dead movie that I'm aware of. After this, it's all downhill. Haven't seen 4 and 5 yet, but like I said, I heard they're trash. But let's talk about part 3. This one, in my opinion, was a step up from part 2. I was not a fan of the comedy in part 2, and this one actually goes down the serious route. It completely takes a different, tone and direction than part 2. Part 2 tried to be a little slapsticky, humorous, more catered to children almost. It felt very PG, almost like a zombie Goosebumps episode. This one decided to say, hey, let's change things up. Let's not be so silly and humorous, and let's just tell a serious love story and have almost no humor at all. The only humor in this movie is really with the effects. Some of the zombies, the way they look, can, make you chuckle, especially the one that's like a head with just a spine and it's somehow talking. Like, stuff like that is kind of funny, but with the characters and the dialogue and what they're saying and doing, there's not really much humor there. It's all really in the effects, which are amazing. So let's get into the positives. I already kind of touched base on a few of them. I really like that this one took a different approach. It decided to be more serious, because not every movie in this franchise needs to be as equally hilarious as the other ones. 1 was pretty funny, more of a horror comedy. 2 was more comedy than horror. And this one was just like, let's just be serious and not have almost any comedy at all. And I really like that. I think it works in here. And I really like this love story spin on a zombie movie where the woman comes back and she won't attack him because she still retains her memories and her love for him. And I just think it's a really cute love story. I really buy into these characters. I'm rooting for them. I really like these characters, this main couple, and who couldn't love Melinda Clarke? Melinda Clarke is stunning as all hell in this movie. She is fantastic. She's just the woman of my dreams. I just love her. Like, even when she's a zombie and she looks like a Cenobite from like Hellraiser, I'd date her. I just really like these characters. I really like Melinda Clarke as this main badass zombie. And she's just so unique looking once she goes through like that transformation. She sticks like all the nails in her arms and hands, and like sticks the like needles through her fingertips or something, like, and all the shards of glass, and she's like sticking things like around her neck through the skin in and out like it's a belt. It's just absolutely gnarly looking and fantastic. The effects in here are absolutely amazing. You had like 5 different companies working on this project. You had Christopher Nelson, who just did like Halloween 2018. And then you had Wayne Toth, who worked with Rob Zombie on his films, all kinds of other stuff. Yeah, all kinds of companies working on this film, and all the effects look great. The zombies, every single one of them look great. The first movie had Tarman, the second one had, their version of Tarman, and then this one not only has Melinda Clarke looking the way she does towards the end, but you also have all these other ones that just start wreaking havoc in the third act that come out of like the trioxin barrels, and every single one of them look unique and freaking horrifying. Just all slimy, and the skulls, the guy that like breaks in half in his face, like he's like his arms like glued to his chest and like rips off, like that guy looks absolutely amazing. So the effects in here are absolutely fantastic, and it's what you would expect from Brian Yuzna. He just did like Society before this. He did Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 4. He did Bride of Reanimator. And so, yeah, you got some Yuzna effects in here. It's not his effects, like he's the one making them, but it's Yuzna's, direction, and this is what he likes in his film, so he delivers once again with the effects like in his previous work. you're gonna get it here too. All kinds of awesome practical effects. And the movie just clicks along at a good pace. I was never bored. It just gets going. I wish we could have spent a little bit more time with Melinda before she died, because I was really liking their relationship. And yeah, it's a very well-paced movie, never bored, so that's always a good thing. And the only nitpicks I would have with this movie, the only thing I would critique is, some of the writing is weak. It's not the best written film ever. I mean, there's some questions that are raised when you're watching the film. Some things don't really make sense or line up. They change some rules that were set up in part one with the brains. And, the freeze effects, they create this new weapon where you shoot the zombie in the brain, it like paralyzes them for a while. They use some kind of weird, optical effect or something, some kind of 90s CGI where their face freezes in a couple of shots. I don't care for that. I also don't care for the gang in this movie, especially the way they dress. Like, who dresses like that? Costume design on this Mexican gang is just atrocious. But I didn't really care for the gang. I thought they were a little, cheesy for such a serious movie. They were kind of odd, but I get why they're in the movie, but I could have done without them. Just have them run away from the government the whole movie, not this, Mexican gang or whatever they are. So final thoughts, this is a definite step up for me personally from part two. I like the serious approach here. I love all the practical effects in here. And I like the main couple. I had a blast with this one, was never bored. If you haven't seen it for some reason, definitely seek it out. It is worth a purchase. So when it comes to Return of the Living Dead Part 3, if you like sexy zombies, go out and buy it. Alright, so now, just like in Part 1, they mentioned the year 69 as, when the first incident occurred that that Night of the Living Dead was a movie based off of, which doesn't make sense. Like, Night of the Living Dead was made in, 67, and came out in 68? So the fact that they're saying that, the first incident that happened that inspired that film happened in 69 does not line up. So that's a problem. It's a little nitpick. But yeah, it's like, why 69? Why couldn't they just say 67? It would have made a lot more sense. And then the security at this, like, top secret facility, this army base, is the equivalent of, like, security that you would get at a freaking mall. Paul Blart would be a better security guard than these people who just go, oh, you want to see your dad here? Okay, come on in. It's like bullshit. And so they got this, cadaver who in real life was this homeless guy off the streets, I read. And they have him in there, and they think he's paralyzed, but the guy still sticks his fingers in his mouth, which sets this whole thing off. Like, really? That's just forced writing right there. Like, there was no reason to stick his fingers down his throat. What was he trying to look for? Like, is his tongue working? Like, what was he looking for? It was just so dumb. Like, no one would stick their fingers in his mouth. He didn't even have, like, that thing in his mouth that prevent him from biting. So he just sticks his fingers in his throat. Like, stupid. No one would do that. The other guy in that room, or I think it's the guy sticking his fingers down the mouth, that guy is Anthony Hickox, the guy who directed, was it Waxwork? And then we get to see Melinda Clarke's boobage, which is amazing. And I don't blame him for not wanting to leave. Like, his dad comes home after the experiment went awry. He goes home, he's like, all right, I'm being relocated, pack up your shit, we're leaving. And he's like, no, I just met this amazing woman, I'm staying. It's like, I'm on board, I get it. I would not leave either. I'd be like, fuck you, Dad. I'm going to go get a job. I'll do whatever I can to afford to live here with this amazing woman and her breasts. I'm staying with her. Screw you, Dad. And then we get, the motorcycle accident, and the way it's put together is a little odd. And one thing that this chick has in common with Charlie from Hereditary is that they have bad luck with telephone poles. She just smacks right into the telephone pole and breaks her neck. And then he takes her to the facility, the army base, revives her with the trioxin, and then we meet Tarman 3.0. We had 2.0 in the second one. This one looks like the best. Like, this is the best looking, Tarman. I'm not sure this was supposed to be their version of Tarman, but I'm calling him Tarman 3.0. This is my favorite zombie. I mean, besides Melinda Clarke, she's my favorite zombie of the franchise. Then this guy, I would say, is my second favorite. Yeah, then they go to the mini marketplace and there's just an arcade game in there, like Street Fighter. I don't see many arcade games in mini markets, but whatever. And this gang is all about this Street Fighter game. And I love that when they shoot the owner, as he's like on the ground bleeding out, the other gangster like just kicks him right in the gut. It's like, dude, he's already down and bleeding out. What a dick. Just kicks him for no reason. Kick a man while he's down. And then so they get the Asian guy, in the van. They're driving off with him to take him to the hospital, and he opens up the back, and the cops are chasing him, and they just shoot the Asian guy right in the face. That's probably the funniest moment in the whole movie. It's not supposed to be funny, I don't think. This is a very serious movie, but that made me laugh. It's like, wow. Like, he was, seeking help from them, and they ended up just taking his life. And this is when things get a little confusing. So, Melinda Clarke, her name's Julie. Julie, she eats the brains of the Asian guy. I didn't write his name down, so he's just the Asian guy. She eats his brain after he's dead, and then he still somehow comes back to life as a zombie with no brains. Like, now you don't need brains to be a zombie. I thought you had to have brains or at least be alive when you got killed to become a zombie, but this guy was dead, no heartbeat, flatline. He was gone for a good while, and then she eats his brains and he becomes a zombie? That doesn't make sense at all, but whatever. It's something you just have to look past. And but I love that effect though when he does come back to life. He's basically like the chick at the end of Kill Bill. He's just got like the top half of his head missing, like his brain exposed as he's attacking them. Pretty awesome stuff right there. Then we find out that pain helps Julie's hunger, and that's why she ends up like sticking herself with all the shit. And she was already a masochist before she died. She was putting the lighter underneath her hand in the opening, so they already established that she was a masochist, so she's used to pain. And then when she goes to kill herself, it clearly looks like a dummy. And not only that, but you can see like a wire, some string attached to her. Like they didn't want it to like go down river and them lose it, so they had like a string on it. You can see it for a split second. It's pretty funny. And the gang just knows where they are at the sewers. They somehow piece it all together really quick. They like drive by a crime scene and they're like, there's only one way out of that alley. It's the sewers. Let's go to the sewers. That's where they must be. And they're right. And they get there before the cops like ever figure it out. Like they know more about this city and the area than the cops do, the local authorities, which is just a bit of a stretch. It's like, really? Come on. And they're just hell bent on getting revenge because Julie bit one of the gangsters, and instead of taking him to a hospital like they should, although they just broke the law, so I guess I see why they're not going to go to the hospital, but they should take this guy to the hospital. And why they're dragging this guy around through the sewers is a question I have. It's like, just leave this sick guy in the car, and then you three leave him and go get your revenge for him. He doesn't need to tag along. He's just an anchor weighing you guys down. They're just dragging him through the sewers like, come on, we're doing this for you, damn it. And then we meet Riverman, who's a little hammy sometimes. His performance is a little over the top, just a little bit. Some of the things he's saying. And he gives him this Mardi Gras coin. You give this to somebody once you help them, and then you give it, whatever, something like that. And it comes back into play later on. And so then the broken glass in Julie's ankle, like up into her Achilles, that was the most disgusting effect in the movie. That one actually made me cringe. I do have to question like why they decided to just stay down there in the sewers. Like they knew that they were being pursued by the gangsters, but then Riverman's like, this is where I live. Nobody knows about this place. We're safe here, and they just take his word for it. Like, dude, they're not even that far behind you. They're gonna find you at some point. They just decide to spend the night there. Like, I get why they don't want to go above ground because, all the soldiers are looking for them, so they're going to get caught at some point. But they know that the gangsters are hot on their trail, but they thought they could just bunk there a whole night and not get caught. It's like, what were you expecting? Of course you're going to wake up with a gun in your face, Riverman. And then we get the scene where Julie becomes, a Cenobite, so to speak. She sticks all this shit in her, and it looks absolutely wonderful. And Santos, S.A., he gets his head ripped almost completely off, but it's like just connected by the spine coming out. It's like a moment out of Predator. And even when he becomes a zombie and he's like talking with the spine still sticking out, like he's still like walking around with this big old spine. He's like a giraffe. It's like a long neck for him. And it's just very hilarious looking. We get this whole like, I'll hold them off moment. And it's so unnecessary. It's like, dude, run. It's like you're telling the guy, this homeless person who just got shot and is wounded, to go limp away with your girlfriend while you hold them off. It's like, how about he holds them off and you go with your girlfriend, because she's going to bite him. And she does. Like, he sends Riverman to take his girlfriend. It's like, take her, I'll hold them off. And that does nothing. It never helps in any movie. It's always pointless. But I love that when he turns around and he sees that his girlfriend was, eating Riverman, he's like, how could you? Why? No. It's like, what were you expecting? She's not eating you because she's in love with you. She's not in love with Riverman, and she's hungry. It's like, what were you expecting, you idiot? I just could not believe he was actually shocked. It was just whatever. But then they're back to base, and then things break. They all break loose. We find out that they're trying to make zombies into biomechanical weapons, zombie soldiers, basically. It's not the most original thing ever, but whatever. It's whatever. But just what a great third act. When they break loose, you got the Riverman, cyborg, zombie, whatever, just throwing people around, and then all the other barrels empty out. All the other zombies come out, and they all look fantastic as well. Yeah, we get to see Melinda Clarke naked once again, which was pretty cool. And he uses the Mardi Gras coin to convince, zombie Riverman to not kill him. And then this movie gets really sad. Like, not only does Melinda Clarke and Kurt have to cremate themselves like James Cameron in part 1, but right before that, his dad has to basically watch him, die. He's like trying to open up the door with a fire extinguisher, but he can't do it. And he basically sees that his son is fucked. He sees the bite on his arm. And I don't know why he took that bite from Melinda Clarke. It's like, your girlfriend's already a zombie, so the fact that he took a bite for her, like he was somehow saving her, I don't know. I guess it was just instinct, but it didn't really make sense. But yeah, he sees that his son is screwed, and then he has to walk away. He can't do anything. He's completely, helpless. He can't do anything to help him. So yeah, he has to basically watch his son die, and then they have to cremate themselves because they don't want to become zombies. Well, the other one's already a zombie, but he doesn't want to become a zombie. And yeah, it's just a very sad ending. The Hockey Mask Award for Best Character in this movie for me was, obviously, Julie. The sexiest zombie ever, and the hottest chick in this movie is, of course, Julie. Melinda Clarke is absolutely stunning in this film. And the Hanky Award for my least favorite character in this movie is Santos, because he says essay like 100 times, and I want to slap him in the face. And the Clap Award for best scene in the movie is the scene where Julie turns into basically a Cenobite, stabbing herself with glass and nails, and becomes absolutely awesome looking. And those are my thoughts on Return of the Living Dead Part 3. Put all of your thoughts in the comments below. And as always, thank you so much for joining me tonight. If you like what you see, you can hit this like button and become a subscriber today just by clicking on my cartoon face in about 5 seconds. And until next time, auf Wiedersehen.